Welcome YouTube to a new video that is covering the Trials of Mythron card lists for both Songhai and the Neutral Cards. That's what I'll be covering, because as a Songhai main I feel like that's what I should cover if I were to try to give my opinion on some of the other cards with factions that I don't really play. Sort of being undercutting the cards a little bit, not really understanding their strength, but I do play, I play Songhai, and the Neutral Cards obviously I play with them. With exceptions of just a couple of cards maybe I want to go over. One in particular I'm super excited for, right? But we'll start with Songhai. Just going over the cards. Some of them I have already covered, but some of them are new. And I haven't covered them yet. So the Bakazoi, I guess you'd say. The 4-mana 2/6, whenever this minion is moved for any reason, draw a card. Not bad. Moved for any reason. So it can also be Kalios BBS. I think this is a Kalios card. BBS, Miss Dragon Seal, Juxtaposition. Kind of like Mogwai was, but more specific to Kalios and Songhai in sort of its effect. Is this better than just having Spelljammer though? I don't know. You'd need to be able to move this consistently at least 3 times a turn for this to be better than Spelljammer, right? Because this Spelljammer draws you 2 cards at the end of turn. If you want to run this over Spelljammer, you kind of want 3 per turn, right? I guess you could break even and just do 2 and then draw your regular card at the end of the turn. So I guess you'd only need to move this twice, and then you would, in all in your turn, you draw 3 cards. And it would be moving it and BBSing it, or moving it and Miss Dragon Sealing it, or moving it and Juxtaing it. So you would only need its normal movement and one other reposition effect, but then that would have to be the turn afterward, wouldn't it? So with this card, whenever this minion is moved for any reason, draw a card. I would... I'm not a big fan of just a movement. I might still run Spelljammer anyway, because Spelljammer is still pretty solid. Drawing 2 cards over 3 cards, obviously maybe 3 cards is better, but 2 cards isn't bad, and you don't have to put in as much resources to make this work, or to make Spelljammer work as you would with this. Having to use those cards, I guess it's a deck thinning tool. Yeah, I don't think so. I think you would rather use those reposition effects more wisely than just using it on this to draw a card. You want to use it on your backstab minions, for example. Or you can use it as removal. But I wouldn't want to just feel like I have to make this card work. I think that would be a little bit of a waste. Unless there's something specific, again, that you're deck thinning, that you're searching for. I don't know. I'd probably still run Spelljammer over this in most lists, but I don't want... I think Spelljammer is still just going to be a little bit better. Yeah. Needs less babysitting to draw your cards. Then you have Cold Fist. Intensify. Give a random nearby friendly minion +2 attack this turn. So people talk about the good, the mana slot for Songhai at the 3 mana, and it's how it's so cluttered. And I do like that we're getting fairly decent minions at different mana counts, except for this, but you know, it's at 3 anyway. But getting one at 4 isn't bad. But in some Songhai lists, you'd run things like the Spelljammer, and you run maybe a 4 Winds Magi. We are getting a fair bit of 4s now. But I guess, So the Intensify, I think the Intensify goes +2 and then +4, then +6. I think that's how it works. I don't think it doubles. I think it goes up by 2. It's kind of slow. 4/4 for 4 with this effect, you'd put it on the board at 4 mana, so you'd be using it on one of your 3-drops. Songhai 3-drops like Lantern Fox. Key Beholder's rotating out now. Maybe it can help you trade up. Obviously, giving minions attack is good. It can help you keep on top of the board and trade up into things that are being very offensive and in your face. But it wouldn't be really good on defensive things. And this card, 4/4/4, it isn't too fantastic. It's at that crucial 4 mana, 4 health range, which can go down to a lot of things and go down to immolations and Mechantors and whatnot. But it does play around Plasma Storm, which is nice. I just don't know how relevant this effect is going to be. But maybe that's the case with these Intensify minions. The first, sort of the initial Intensify isn't going to be that strong. But later on, you kind of just want to bite the bullet and play these ones early on, so that you get supreme value from these cards later on. If you're running like a 3-of, you can then give a minion +6 attack. And that's strong. That's obviously strong. But I guess it's a combo card. Like, you're going to be playing this on curve, maybe like once, twice, and then have it as a combo. And when it's phrased like that, it doesn't seem that great either. What, you've got like a Tuskpaw, Cold Fist, 6 mana for, say this is at 6 attack now, 6 mana for 8 damage. That's not bad. But you need to be able to reach them. They need to be low enough that you can just afford to do that tempo play at 6 mana. Or that kind of a play at 6 mana. Maybe it's good in aggro decks, I guess. Aggro Intensify decks. Where you're okay just playing this, just throwing it down. Because it's sort of like an opening gambit, right? Yeah. Yeah, maybe it'll be good in an aggro deck. Where you just want to push a lot of damage really fast. And I'd say that's good against Vath, who's probably going to be coming toward you anyway and not trying to be playing defensive. But Vath got a lot of healing. Vath got a new healing card, and their pre-existing healing is already pretty strong. So, I don't know. Well, I'll have to test. I have to test like an aggro Intensify deck maybe, and see how good this one is. So the Hideatsu the Ebon Ox, the Mythron card. Trial, summon 7 minions from your action bar with different costs. And summon friendly minions as a destiny. To deal their cost as damage to the enemy. To an enemy. So I guess when you summon the minion, you'd be able to pick which enemy gets damaged, and it's equal to its mana cost, right? Yeah, equal to the mana cost is the damage that you deal. So you'd think, since you have to summon 7 with different costs, by 7 mana, you're going to put your 7-drop down. Then this gets summoned? I think when you put this, like, okay, this is how the card text makes me think. You put your 7-drop down, then this gets summoned, so you're going to have a 7-drop plus this. And then you're going on 8 mana. And provided you have a somewhat decent action bar, I guess this could. But if you're trying to deal damage, like if you're a control deck, like this sort of supports a control-y deck. Oh, sorry about the lighting. This kind of supports a control-y deck, right? Where you're just playing minions on curve, you're answering, and you're trying to get to the late game to play the Hideatsu the Ebon Ox. And then you're trying to summon friendly minions to deal their cost as damage to the enemy. To an enemy. If you're a control deck, you should be on top of the board anyway, right? And your 7 drop's probably going to be EMP. So you're doing pretty well, right? And then you want to summon minions to deal damage to an enemy. Well, if there's minions on board, maybe. But you're control deck, so you're probably on top of that anyway. There's not going to be too much to deal damage to. And if you're just trying to then use that as a win con to smoke them down, but if you're just trying to deal chip damage at the end of the game, you could have already been doing that all throughout the game and win by 7 mana. Like, that's what Songhai aggro spell, like an aggro spell high, can do. So I think this is trying to go in the control route to late game, but then just smoke a bunch. You could just be smoking throughout the game and win before this becomes relevant. I don't know. Again, more testing needs to be done. I don't want to totally knock the Mythron card, but I think this is getting this got, like, people saying this was pretty hype. I think there are definitely better Mythron cards. I don't think Songhai got the best one. Just because it seems like it's trying to do 2 different things. Anyway. The Horned Mask. Your general gains +1 attack after a friendly minion with backstab attacks. It gains +1/+1. Huh. So this is an artifact that gives all of your backstab minions the Gorehorn ability. Essentially. But it has to backstab. It's not just attacking, it has to backstab. But that's fine with some of the other cards. I won't jump to, but I'll just sort of highlight this. It's already been revealed. You might have already seen it. And the +1 attack can be good. So after a friendly minion with backstab attacks. Oh, it doesn't have to attack and backstab. So it is pretty much Gorehorn's effect on all of your backstab minions. So backstab is getting some support, it looks like. Didn't really see play before. I don't know if this is going to make it see play. I think you might get a singular buff out of the card before your backstab minion might get answered. And it's +1/+1. So we don't have Katara anymore. What have we got? We've got the Skull Bandit. We've still got Kaido Assassin. So you play your Skull Bandit and your Kaido turn 1. You miss Dragon it. The Skull Bandit becomes a 2/4, becomes a 3/5 after you backstab with it, as opposed to a 2/4. But it, regardless, say you do that, it's a 3/5. Your opponent probably still played a minion on their side of the bit field. And so if they use that to just double trade into it, but if you then use that to kill the minion, that's a strategy. But then you're just opening up to it being removed without having dealt any face damage. But then again, a 3/5 would be tough to deal with. The 5 HP is pretty relevant. 5 HP is pretty relevant. I think this card could be good. If not, you don't maybe want to use it in an all-out backstab deck, because, you know, like, backstab as an archetype's never been that great. But as a turn 1, no, it wouldn't be a turn 1. It'd be part of your second turn. It's not terrible. And you having +1 attack can be pretty relevant as well. So I don't think this card is terrible. It's an early game card, though. Just an early game card, in my opinion. The Kaido Expert, backstab. Whenever this minion backstabs, summon a minion with backstab that costs 2 or less from your deck nearby. Nearby it. Again, that card text makes me think that it's nearby it. Nearby the Kaido Expert. Interesting. It would give them more than one threat to deal with, so I kind of like it. I kind of like that in that situation, you backstab with this, say you have the Horn Mask on, you don't need to worry about developing something else on that turn. If you can just like Horn Mask, Mist Dragon, yeah, you're spending 2 mana, you're probably not going to develop anything else that turn. But this summons something. So you don't actually need to spend... Yeah, I think this card is pretty good. I think its stats obviously weak. Is it likely to live for you to get it off? No, but when it does, it's got a pretty good effect to it, I think. And it goes to a 4/4 if you manage to get the backstab off it with the Horn Mask. Backstab 1 for 3 mana. You then Mist Dragon goes to 3. So it can deal 4 attack, which it might need to contest with a 3-drop or perhaps a 4-drop. For contesting with a 4-drop, it wouldn't be that good. So you want this. This is one of your turn 1 going second plays. That's where it's best. But if you didn't have that, it would then feel a little bit too weak to play this card, in my opinion. Going on 4 mana, going second, you don't want to play this card. You want to play something else. Going on 3 mana, going first, this card would feel weak. It's for a very specific point in the game, I think, where it could get value. Yeah, I don't think this card is bad. I think yeah. But again, it's like the Horn Mask. You want it at a very specific point in the game to get the best value from it. But then again, you can argue that's how it is with a lot of cards. Anyway. Kensho Vortex, I haven't seen this one. Costs 1 less for each spell you cast this game. Whenever you cast a spell this turn, summon a minion that costs 2 or more nearby the general. More card text that just confuses my brain. Summon a minion that costs up to 2, like up to 2, or... Oh, okay, hold on. Summon a minion that costs up to 2 more. Ah, okay. Okay. So you cast a Phoenix Fire. For example. And you could get a 4-drop, but you couldn't get any more than a 4-drop. When it says up to 2, so you cast a Phoenix Fire, you could get a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4-drop, but not a 5. That's how it reads to me. Summon a minion that costs up to 2 more nearby your general. Unless it means specifically it is just going to be 2 more. So when you cast a Phoenix Fire, you know you're going to get a 4-drop. But, I mean... if it isn't the case, like it being a 4-drop, it doesn't even say faction cards. I mean, I don't like the element of randomness to it, I guess. Summon a minion that costs up to 2 or more nearby your general. Is it going to be a Songhai and Neutral Force? It must be. It must be just a Songhai or Neutral. Right. It has to be, right? It wouldn't just be cards from any faction. That'd be pointless. Yeah, I just don't like the element of randomness to it. The card text makes it sound like you don't actually know what's going to be summoned. And if it is actually a range of 1 mana creatures to 4 mana creatures, that's a big range. Like in your standard deck, that's a very big range of cards that you're just rolling a dice on. As far as the mana cost goes, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be, like your Songhai, you're going to be casting spells a lot, so you'll be able to get this fairly cheap. But again, I relate it to Hideatsu, where you're trying to just summon a bunch of minions in the late game. like get board presence in the late game like this. Friendly minions, you kind of want to have lots of minions at the go, I guess, in the late game to play after you've played Hideatsu. And in this one, you're summoning a bunch of minions in the late game. I guess this has some synergy. I guess that's what it's for. You can cast spells and summon minions. But I'm not sure if they're going to synergize. Like, it'd be cool if it did, but I don't think it's going to. See, I don't think that card is that great. That's just me. Depends how cheap you can get this. I guess that's the thing. But I don't think you're ever going to be able to get it cheap enough. And then you're going to get into the late game where just summoning a bunch of weak guys isn't that worth it. Unless you're just casting the one massive spell after casting this. Yeah, I guess that's what you would have to use it for. You'd have to get it cheap, play it in a late game, then cast a big spell. And then you'd get up to 2 more. I mean, it's still very ambiguous. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. And that's what I don't like about it. I like consistency. I like knowing what you're going to get as much as possible. Or having fairly good odds and having a rough idea of, like, what you could get. But it's just like, without knowing more information about this card, it's tough to tell what pool it's actually drawing from. Things like that. I don't know enough about the card text, because card text can confuse me sometimes, and that one kind of does, in a way. Knuckle Storm. The 1 mana, I have talked about this, I think. Knuckle Storm, intensify, deal 1 damage to an enemy. I guess it's just going to be mantra fuel. Early game, as far as contesting board goes, what are you going to do? You're just going to spend 1 mana, deal 1 damage to something. It's more than likely not going to kill a minion. If they're going to play it in your face, it's probably not going to have weak stats by any means if they can afford to play it offensively. Defensive cards this doesn't deal with. But yeah, it's just like mantra fuel in my opinion. You could just play this early in combo with the other spell damage things to clear the board, and in that way it is good. And then when you get into the late game, this is a 1 mana like deal 3 damage. It's great for mantra. This discounted 0 mana, deal 3 damage, really good. Yeah, I think this is just a mantra card. Maybe you can cross the line to Arcanists as well. Just another cheap Songhai 1 mana spell to proc Arcanists. Perhaps. Yeah. So Mantra or Arcanist card, this one. It has really good potential value, I think. More backstabs. Backstab 2. So for 4 mana, it backstabs for 4 damage. With the Mist Dragon, it'll backstab for 5 damage at 5 mana. After this minion attacks and backstabs, all attacks and backstabs is down. It's setting up like a combo backstab plan, I guess, because you need a fair bit of them on board. It could be good because how you play when backstab, you have something behind you. You're just up against the wall the entire game. This kind of shuts that down. But this still needs to backstab. So if they're up against the wall, it doesn't actually help unless they play a minion offensively. If they just have themselves and their minions against the wall, it's not good. But if they have themselves against the wall and are playing minions forward, then it becomes better. And that definitely does happen sometimes. Because they still want to sort of contest the tile, but they don't want to take face damage. It might be a little bit situational in this sort of combo it's trying to set up. I don't know. It's trying to cover its weakness. I guess backstab's weakness of just being against the wall. But more people are just going to be against the wall now and play a very defensive strategy, since they know that if they'll be able to tell early on, are you running backstab? Okay, well, you're probably running Massacre Artist. I'm out of here. And in that way, it's still not good. You with a juxtaposition, you can still backstab, because you can draw the minions off the wall, backstab. But it's sort of, it seems like it's a very expensive combo. You need to have a lot of backstabs on the board. Your opponent can still remove your backstab minions from the other side of the board. That's not really an issue. It's still very possible. And you need to have quite a board developed for this payoff to go off. Could be good though, could be good. 5 health, it's pretty relevant, it's quite good. But you'll be playing this defensively to miss Dragon Seal in. I'm adding it to the list of archetypes I need to try now. I need to try Kalios Backstab. I need to try the Intensify, the Aggro Intensify deck. And there's one other that I need to try as well. But that's... yeah. Meditate. Shuffle 5 copies of the spell you most recently cast into your deck. More mantra. More mantra. This would 100% give you the chance to refuel. I don't know if that's what you want to do, but sometimes you don't kill them with mantra. You could just set up for a second. And I think that's going to be kind of relevant against Vath with all the healing. You mantra, they have all the healing, they could Earth Sphere, they could Finality. You then are able to collect up the fuel again to go for a second mantra, provided you have the card draw, obviously. Yes, it shuffle all these cards that shuffle the cards in your deck. Yes, you need to draw them. Yes, you need to have a lot of card draw to try and pull those cards back out of your deck. But you also have the draw and you have to replace. I don't think it's impossible, but I think just having 5 copies, 5 extra copies of any spell in your deck, possibly, is really strong. 5 extra Knuckle Storms. Plenty of ordinary Songhai spells. Like pick a Songhai spell. It'd be great to have 5 copies of. So that's pretty good. And you could just play this in the early game. You could cast a spell. It's 0 mana. You play this in the early game, and so you have throughout the game plenty of opportunities to draw into all the other copies. So I think this card is really good. 3 mana, 3/4 flying minion. Gauntlet. I don't think this is going to see constructed play. I should chat a bit more about Gauntlet, shouldn't I? Maybe. Gauntlet card. I think this is a good Gauntlet card. It's more durable than it was with... a little bit more durable than Mogwai. And it doesn't die to things like the Lasting Judgment. Because the Mogwai was a 2 mana... it was a 3 mana 2/3 that whenever it moved, it drew a card. The 3 health made it very weak. But you could play it turn 1, so there's a bit of a trade-off here. This would be a really good Gauntlet card for trading up. Yeah. There's a few good Gauntlet cards in the Songhai. This is a Gauntlet card because you play it turn 1, it's got the 4 health, it's pretty durable. You can take out a backline threat pretty consistent. Unless, of course, they Killing Edge it, but then what wouldn't die on your first turn going second to Arrangement and Killing Edge? Very little. Yeah. And the one thing I want to also say is it looks like that Pokemon, I can try and pull it up, like Unpheasant or something. I can't remember what it called, but it's a Pokemon. It looks like the flying Pokemon minion. Can't remember what gen though. Getting off topic. The Panditentiary. Panditentiary? Or Tentiary? I can't pronounce that properly. Surround the enemy general with friendly Pando that disappear at the start of your next turn. Not that great. The Pandos, the 0/2s that can't be attacked. Surrounding them, it's a stall card, I guess. I don't think it's that fantastic. But they disappear at the start of your next turn. So you could play this in the early game. You could play this turn 1 going second. And it would be pretty solid. Just to deny a lot of board position. I mean, that's pretty good. If you get this in the early game, it's pretty good. But in a late game, not so relevant, I don't think. Again, yet another card where you want it at a specific point in the game. Maybe like on your second turn going first, I can still see this being good. Or on your first turn going second, this is pretty good. But as the game develops, it becomes less and less relevant. The only other situation I could think of this being good is Vath. If, like solo Vath is sort of a thing. I don't think it is going to be a thing with some of the cards I've seen in this expansion for them. I think they're going to be very minion based. So, but on the off chance that Vath is just coming at you solo for whatever reason, this can sort of stall him for a turn unless, even if it has Tracer, he can't put it anywhere. He could just have Plasma Storm, obviously, but this could be good, and I'm emphasizing that could be good. The only other thing, and I'm not sure about this, but I think Vitruvian is getting a lot of artifact synergy, so Artifact Sage could become relevant again. And this could stall out Artifact Sage for a little bit as well. Very much so. With the Wildfire Unk, it locks down their positioning, makes positioning around the Unk easier if he has a Hexblade or the thing that summons the totems. You just surround them with Pandos, they can't really do much. Position around, and I can't kill the Pandos. So I think it's pretty good. In particular meta matchups, it will depend on how the meta goes. I think early game good, late game meta dependent. I think. Phoenix Barrage, a 5 mana, deal 3 damage to anything. Put a Phoenix Fire in your action bar. 5 mana, deal 3 damage is bad, but having the sort of cantrip to collect back a Phoenix Fire is pretty good. It just depends, like, what are they going to play on their, like, 4 mana or 5 mana turn that you're going to be able to kill with a Phoenix Fire to justify playing this? Probably not a lot. The Phoenix Fire with 5 mana won't kill a lot. So you need to be able to... But then again, that's not often a problem for Songhai. They have a lot of tools to then get back board advantage. But I guess I don't see the point. I guess I don't overall see the point in spending 5 mana, getting the Phoenix Fire back. Mantra. Okay, I do see the point. Mantra. Setting up for a combo turn of some kind with spells. Being able to remove something and keep your hand healthy. That's what it's for, I think. It's like Twin Strike. It's like a Tatsu. It's more expensive. This need to be tested to see if its mana cost is really worth it. If I had to make a really hard judgment call on this, I would say no. I would say it's too expensive to just like play this Phoenix Fire something and skip your turn at 5 mana. I think it's a little bit too expensive. This game is like, there's a lot of fast-paced strategies. I just feel like this is a little bit too slow, I guess to say. Second shelf. Put an exact copy of a friendly minion into your action bar. I think this is another Gauntlet card for sure. I think a Killing Edge on a Heartseeker. Like, obviously it's based around you buff a minion that you already have on board. You second shelf it. It's pretty good. Even gaining a copy of a friendly minion already on board, if it's a really good minion, you want a lot of them. It doesn't necessarily have to be buffed, but it's obviously really good if it is buffed. 4 mana, you play Thunderhorn. 5 mana, you Killing Edge it, you second shelf it. That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. So it's to get an exact copy of buffed minions is the go-to, I think, plan for this card. And it is a friendly minion, can't take the enemy minions. And as I say, in Gauntlet, Killing Edge and a Heartseeker, then you just have, what, a 1 mana 5/3? That's, yeah, that you can just play for 1 mana. Killing Edge Heartseekers are hard enough to deal with. This card is only a rare, and it is kind of nutty in Gauntlet. Potentially. I don't want to speak too soon, but potentially. It'll be in a draft where you know you have a lot of Killing Edges. You know you have a lot of buff cards. Saberspine Seal is only for 1 turn, but if you Saberspine Seal and second shelf something, that will then have that buff, put it in your action bar, and keep the buff. And then you can play that. That's also something to think about. Oh, and the last card, Songhai Cannoneer. Ranged. Whenever you summon a minion with ranged, that minion gains a rush. Mech. I was in the Discord just before. I think it's the Duelyst official Discord. Someone mentioned this, and I'm like, yes. At 6 mana, Songhai Cannoneer, Helm, summon the mech, give it rush again. Someone also said, and it's true, it's like old Vindicator, how minions summoned near Vindicator would gain rush. That was what Vindicator used to be. This doesn't even have to be near it just has to be a ranged minion. It's going to be a good Gauntlet card again, except you're very rarely going to see it since it is a legendary. So on Gauntlet, when you actually draft this as a legendary, it's going to be good, obviously. But in Constructed, I think the ranged sort of archetype, it's not going to see that much play. It's more just of a potential combo for mech decks. Just to get mech with rush out straight away, you know. Yeah. It's a combo potential card. I wouldn't play this on curve, since it doesn't give itself rush, and it's not really going to get its value off. It's not very likely. But you could 5 and 1 at 6 mana, and then you just get a 1/1 with rush. That's not really worth it. Yeah. Mech deck. Basically mech deck. Okay. So that's the Songhai cards. I also was going to do the neutral cards, wasn't I? Yeah. Part 2 is the neutral cards. I'm going to be a little bit more brief with these. I'm not going to go as in depth. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, restore 1 health to your general. Potentially good against spell-heavy decks. Obviously, Songhai, you could be running a spell-heavy deck and it's good against that. But I don't think the 1 health is quite enough. Like, if they're actually trying to smoke you down, you're going to get smoked. I don't think the 1 health is going to be that relevant. But its stats is decent. Its stats is actually pretty decent. You can just play this on curve. It doesn't have to be spell high list. It's just whenever they play a spell, you gain health. Yeah. It's a solid stat stick that has a potentially good effect depending on the matchup. Also in Fugitive, at the end of your turn, at the end of any turn you cast a spell, put a copy of the most recently cast spell in your action bar. Arcanist Synergy. filling up your hand after you maybe spit out a lot of spells. You can dictate what you're going to get by making sure that the spell that you want to get back is the last one that you cast. So this doesn't seem that bad. But you need, a lot of cheap spells that are also useful. So I'm thinking more of a Vanna card than a Songhai card in terms of spell spam. Initial thoughts, obviously. Fizzling Mystic, I have covered this. I wasn't really a fan of it. Yeah. The Ara's Prophet. An Arcanist, 1/3. Whenever you replace a card, shuffle a Brilliant Plume into your deck. Restore 1 health to your general. Draw a card. 0 mana. I think it's good. Arcanist synergies, obviously. Arcanists might be looking for more 2-drops to play. Because you've got like things like Circulus, obviously, for Vanna, Aether Master. But early game Arcanists, to get some board presence, it's not unwelcome, is what I guess I would say. And you can play this in place and get value out of it straight away. And it's not really polluting your deck, because when you draw this, you can play it straight away and draw a card. So it's deck thinning, but also deck polluting, so it evens out. So the net gain is that you get cheap spells that you can then proc your Arcanists with, and gain health. And have a body on board that with Arcanists could get really big health. Its attack isn't that great though, so I don't know if that's going to matter. Hisuku, not the greatest of cards. At the end of any player's turn, give one of their minions a random buff and a keyword. Excluding Hisuku, so you would need a pre-existing body on the board to get value out of this. I think in Gauntlet it is more viable because you can play a 3-drop that it's not likely to get answered straight away. And so then you play this on your 4 mana turn. Your minion that you played on 3 mana gets an initial buff and keyword, but it's at the end of your turn, so you can't then use that buff or keyword, is what I think people don't like about it. And then your opponent goes, and then at the end of their turn, so you still get the initial, unless I'm reading this card wrong and it's something I'm not understanding, you still get to use the initial buff and keyword first. Because, provided you had that extra minion on board, which in Gauntlet you often will, you still get to utilize that effect first, I think. But again, the minion needs to stick, and that might not always happen. But just in a vacuum, you get to use it first. Because you play the Hisuku, your other minion gets buffed, then it's their turn. At the end of that turn, one of their minions gets buffed, then back to you. You have that minion with the buffed keyword, the random buff and the keyword. But it's random, so for that reason, because it's random, I don't really like it. It's unpredictable, and I'd rather have something consistent. That's just me. Chipuka. Whenever your opponent summons a minion, summon a 2/1 Puka with Provoke. Provokine? There needs to be a space there. Provokine in front of it. 5 mana 3/6. Dies to Plasma. It's got a solid health though. And the Puka itself is a 2/1 Provoke. 1 mana. I don't think this card is that bad. It's bad in the Vath matchup, obviously. But in other matchups, its health is pretty strong. And it gets you board presence. Like, this can get you a fair bit of value. So I don't mind this card. It stalls out pretty well, I guess you could say. It helps contest board. If you're getting swarmed, it helps contest board pretty well. Yeah, I kind of like that card. Yeah, that might be one I want to try out. And the Lodestar, don't like it. I mean, it's a meme. It is 100. The Lodestar is 100% a meme card. 6 mana, airdrop, force field, and end of both players' turns, pull some things to this minion. It's like the first thing I saw was, what in the world does that even mean? I've since had this explained to me that some things, it rolls a dice on how many things it is going to pull toward it, and it does. It can be your own minions. It can be the enemy's minions. It can be your general. It can be the enemy general. It can be anything. Kind of, again, I talked about me not liking the randomness of this. You take the randomness of a Suku card and you times it by like 1,000, and that's what this card is. It's a meme. You could, obviously, it's RNG that you can manipulate, because not having many of your own minions on the board makes it more likely it's going to pull other enemy minions or the enemy general to them. You know, the less things you have on the board, the better. But it's a meme card. Mirror him. Shuffle 3 copies of a friendly minion into your deck. I think this card's good. I have talked about it already. Same with the Meditate. Having more copies of any spell in your deck is good. Having more copies of any minion, if it's a solid minion, you want more copies of in your deck. And then you can just keep cycling. You'll probably eventually find it. In the meta, you know, there's a fair bit of decks that can get you to the late game. And getting to the late game obviously gives you the most chances to draw those extra minions that you're putting in your deck. So I think it's pretty good. Damn. Nemivore. I'm just going to say Nemivore. Whenever you summon a minion, burn 3 cards from your opponent's deck. I kind of like this card. It's slow. Whenever you summon a minion, burn 3 cards. Yeah, so it's the burn strategy. There's plenty of cards that then fill up your deck that are releasing this expansion. This is kind of the counter to that, right? You could run this in Obelisk decks. You might not think it, but you run this in Obelisk decks, you have some Obelisks on board. Every time a minion gets summoned from your Obelisks, it procs this, and it burns 3 cards. Like, that's pretty hefty. Trigon obviously summons a lot of dervishes. So yeah, this is a bit of an answer, an immediate answer. Like, you need to answer this card, or you're gonna get burned out really fast. It's pretty funny. It's a bit of a fun card at first impression. Highlander card. Have no duplicate cards in your deck. Your minions have +1/+1. Not the worst, but it's, yeah. Having, like, I'm not a fan of one-ups in the deck. Obviously, Highlander could be a fun mode to try, but having a deck full of one-ups, like, where's the consistency? My OCD would just be going exploding. It's for a particular mode. It's almost like a mode, isn't it? It's a Highlander mode. Maybe that'll be the mode that they're releasing. I don't know, maybe. Like, why else would they release this card? But don't hold me to that, please. Opening Gambit. Transform the cards in your action bar into prismatic legendaries. Random. There's so many dead legendaries. Your opponent's going to know, most likely, what the legendary cards are because they become prismatic. And yeah, it's just a random dice roll. I don't like it. And you're giving up potentially good cards in your hand to do that. So, may move an additional space to Pongbok. 3 mana 2/5. Good for reaching backline stuff. Got a really solid health total. Good gauntlet card. I don't know who would use this in Constructed. It could be used in very... I think this is mainly a gauntlet card. to reach backline threats. And if that's its job, it does it pretty well with its health total. The 2 health, so the 2 attack isn't that great, but obviously you can buff it. Riftwalker and airdrop intensify, deal 1 damage to anything around it. Again, with the intensifiers, I'm going to sound like a broken record. The initial intensify, not that great. It's only for something very specific. But as you get to your 3rd one, 3 damage can be really good. But it's an AoE card. And at 4 mana, dealing 1 damage to everything around it, it's kind of weak. It's a very weak start. And if you have such a weak curve play, it's not really going to matter if future intensifiers are good, if you're just falling behind on board. And yeah, as later turns go on, even if you're dealing 2 damage AoE, doesn't matter, 3 damage AoE, doesn't matter. By like 7 mana, 3 damage AoE, who cares? Like, they're going to be something bigger things than that, is how I view that. Saberspine Alpha. Gauntlet card. Again, unless there's something, and meta dependent, I guess. Unless there's something huge that they're playing on curve that you want this to answer with, that's just got like a really good effect that they always play out of reach. This isn't great, but it's maybe good in Gauntlet. Maybe. I think it will be. I think range minions is always going to be a problem at any stage in the game. So it being a 7-drop, you can still use it to remove backline threats that they are going to try and summon. Skarzig. I think I've already talked about Skarzig. I'm not too sure, but I think I have. If this minion destroys an enemy survives, friendly Skarzig anywhere, transform into Feather Knights. This is better in factions that have a lot of buff potential, particularly Songhai, where you can initiate. They might not see it coming, but it'll be Assassination Protocol or Inner Focus with this card, and a Killing Edge or a Saberspine Seal. But it needs to survive, so Killing Edge will obviously be better. It needs the buff, I think. Unless you're versing Lilith Swarm, it needs a buff to be able to trade into something. But once it does that, you're in great shape. With the Skarzig Feather Knight, the 3 mana 4/8. And this combo with Mirror Rim, you can put more of those Skarzigs in your deck to get more Feather Knights. 3 mana 4/8 are pretty strong. And its effect, Celerity, when its minion attacks, give other friendly minions +1/+1. It's obviously a strong effect. The thing will be, can you consistently get this to kill something? If you can, you're in pretty great shape. Cell Soul, I've talked about that one. It's a good aggro card. The effect, the Dying Wish effect, is not enough to deter people from playing it because of the amount of healing that's in this game for certain factions. The World Core Golem, 9 mana, 25/25. I did briefly glimpse this, and people were saying that you can get this from Juggernaut, which is obviously scary. You can get this from Grimes, which would just trigger people into next week. I don't know. I guess OTK, like, you somehow get this. It's a golem, so golem synergy. But yeah, this guy's bonkers. I guess they're just trying to push an OTK, like, you haven't managed to deal any damage to your opponent whatsoever. Summon this. Maybe it reaches them. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know why they printed this card. I think there's plenty of other massively static golems that could deal a lot of damage and like perform the same function. I guess they just wanted to go to the absolute extreme. I guess. I don't know what to think of this card. Okay, well, because this video has been going on for a while, I was going to cover some of the other ones. No, look, I will. This is a long video. I'll have a long video warning in the title. Things in particular that I wanted to just highlight based on what I know has been released. This card with Cataclysmic Fault, it's kind of crazy. That's the initial thought I had. Adam Klinger, Vet is getting a lot of artifact synergies. Forgive me if I'm skipping over something, I'm just being really brief with these. And I'm not going to cover probably all the factions. I saw this, and it kind of made me puke. And then when it disappears at the start of the next turn, even if they get a turn to still utilize that minion, that's more removal. Vet with removal, who would have known? This card seems really good. Not sure about this one. I know it's artifact related. 5th Canopic. Bloodborne Spell Denial. Don't know about that. Intensify. Yeah. So that's that. The Magma ones that I have seen that are really strong. Baseclad Hunter. Freaking why? Why with a faction with amazing buffs? Why with a faction whose Hate Furnace Trial is cast things that give minions attack with Baseclad Hunter? Why? FYI, for this expansion, I think Magma has easily come out on top. Invigoration's really strong. Crater wasn't that strong. And Husapex is freaking OP. Deep Impact, deal damage to a minion and reduce its... I don't think that's a bit situational. I think it is, actually. And this is one of the buffs that can synergize with Hate Furnace. Hate Furnace itself as a trial. Oh my freaking god. Mecantos everywhere. And I don't think Mortimer is that great. I don't know why they gave a ranged minion to Vath. Or to Magma. But yeah. I did that, I did that, I did Lionar. Well, I'm going to anyway. What was I looking for? Livestream, I think, is a really good cantripping tool. I think that's really powerful. War Exorcist was another good card that I saw. I like this card. I liked it. It has the drawback, potentially really good. But this gets shut down fairly easily, so I don't think it's that great. Put one Crestfallen into your action bar. I don't think that's fantastic either. I think Legion got a lot of hype. Me, myself, not being a line-up player, I don't really see that. Strategist, summon 10 minions with 1 or less attack. I think that's really hard to pull off, not knowing what to promote exactly means. Yeah. What's this one? Summon a random general or friendly minions with provoke that died that game. I think that's really good. And this wasn't that great. And I didn't really like this card either. But again, like, I'm not a line-up player, so I don't want to be too harsh. People who play line-up more than I do are obviously going to know better than I do. Abyssal Tormentor. I didn't see this one. Your Shadow Creep deals damage equal to the number of friendly Shadow Creep. Ooh. So if you don't know, Old Obliterate. Oh no, it wasn't Obliterate, was it? It was Shadow Nova. That's what it was. It summoned Shadow Creep. And it dealt damage equal to the number of friendly Shadow Creep that was on the board. So you would summon this, you would generate your 4, and it will deal 5 damage to everything on it. This is a card that gives Creep back that ability, and I kind of like it. Bone Crush, Intensify, gain plus attack, that's obviously strong. Didn't like Tither with its Frenzy effect, felt a little bit out of place. Dying Wish, lower all the costs of minions with Dying Wish in your deck and action bar by 1, so it's a Lurking Fear with the body. Hexclaw. I think that's going to be strong. Abyssing can get the late game pretty consistent. Unleash the Evil. Summon a copy of the minion of your opponent's minion most recently summoned from the action bar against Rush and Flying. Wow. Again, Abyssing can get to the late game. These late game cards might become very relevant. Friendly Wraithing are +2/+2. Some Wraithing support's not that bad. If you have 3 or more, I like this card. I did see it. I like drawing cards. And having 3 or more Shadow Creep, not going to be that hard. Really good. Munch, I kind of like. I like the creep support that they've given it, considering all that they took away. That's what I'll say. Mave card. Cast 6 spells that destroy a friendly minion. You got the Mave. You got Darkfire Sacrifice. You got Ritual Banishing. I think that's going to be too hard to pull off in a particular deck that's aimed toward this. Whenever a friendly minion dies, resummon it on a random space. Yeah, that's strong. That's strong, I think. Draw a minion from your opponent's deck against +1/+1. That's like Joseki. Kind of fun. Yeah, pretty good. Vanna. Yes, okay. Now we get to the exciting bit. Now we get to the best card of the expansion. Meltwater Moose. When this minion is summoned, stun it. I think that's fine. I'll be using this card. I'll be using this card with Mirim to get all the copies of it. All the copies. The one thing I also wanted to point out, I wanted to check. Choose a stun minion. Put a copy of that card in your action bar. I swear, like, it's because it's Meltwater Moose. Come on. I wasn't going to play Vanna. I was just going to focus on my Songhai decks. Because I love Songhai. I have to play Vanna now. And I have a deck in mind. It's going to be this. It's going to be Essence Sculpt. Going to be Mirim. Going to be spamming out these suckers. It's going to be fantastic. The other noteworthy things were the Endless Hunt. Seems pretty interesting. As a sort of constant play things. And to keep your hand healthy. Cryonic Potential. I really like. Like, give an exhausted friendly minion +6/+6. Insane, in my opinion. Exhausted being, it's already attacked. Or, actually, yeah, okay, so I'm not 100%, but the way I think it is when you summon things, they're exhausted. They have the summoning sickness. So you can play this on a minion that you just summoned and give it +6/+6. If that isn't the case, I think it's obviously a little bit weaker. But this one is another one I want to try. Stun synergies. I want to make an Illina deck. Because I think Illina might... I want Illina to be good. I've said that before. Ice Age is pretty janky. Permafrost, I didn't really like. Wanderlust. Teleport one random enemy minion to a space on your starting side of the battlefield. Ooh. Okay, I'm using that card too with the Avalanche. Oh my god, I'm just going to have so much fun. I didn't think I was going to have fun with Vanna, but I think I'm going to have fun with Vanna. An Oak in the Nemington. Or Joke in the Meme Town. Have 5 tokens. Have 5 token minions with different names. Friendly token minions have +4/+4. I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's that great at all. And that's that, guys. Thanks for watching. Obviously, if there's something huge that I just skimmed past and I shouldn't have, please let me know in the comments. Just feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments about any of these cards and something that you're excited for. And I'll also leave a link to my Twitch, because I'll probably be streaming in the days to come, working out these decks. I'll be making these decks and posting them to YouTube anyway, but if you want to check it out on Twitch when it happens, it'll be in the description, and have a good day.